Jade Wagon went missing on January 2nd, 2020. Her body was found on January 21st of the same year. Jade had refused to be silenced about the murder of her sister Jocelyn 1 year prior to Jade's disappearance. Jocelyn's murder has not been solved, and Jade's death was ruled accidental due to hypothermia by the FBI. But her mother believes she was murdered. Jade and Jocelyn were both members of the North Arapaho Tribe in Wind River, Wyoming. Hey everybody, welcome to True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. I'm Christy Brower, here with my sister, co-host, and partner in crime, Katie Weaver. Hey Katie.
Hello.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going, you know, how it always does. Yeah.
It does. Yeah, I'm doing well as well. Today is Wednesday. Well, this is our Wednesday case anyway.
Yes.
And it is our MMIW. We're kind of winding down our, not that we're not going to keep covering MMIW cases, we will, but we have actually committed to an MMIW case a week for a whole year. And we've been we've very nearly got that many.
Yep.
And the reason that we have done that is because these missing and murdered Indigenous women pockets of, major problems in states like Idaho, where we live, and Montana and Wyoming and Washington and Arizona and New Mexico and South Dakota are just very scary and very much kept under wraps. There's so little known about so many of these cases.
Oh,
but I'm going to tell you.
When we first started reporting on MMIW cases, so many of you had no idea.
Didn't have any idea.
No idea. And now a lot of you do, and you watch for those cases and you send them our way, and we appreciate it. Yeah, so season 3 will start in January, and we're going to have new objectives for the year. However, of course, MMIW cases will continue to show up here regularly because they are near and dear to our hearts. But I'm really proud of our commitment to do the cases we've done this year, and we'll continue to do many more.
Yeah, most definitely. We're not ending that, but we are going to shift our primary focus away from this a little bit, but we'll keep reporting on it. Here's some things I want to tell you about. This case is actually 2 cases. It's about Jocelyn Watt and her sister Jade Wagon. And they are from the Wind River Reservation in Wyoming. Let me tell you a little bit about the Wind River Reservation. The life expectancy of human beings who live on that reservation is 49.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Oh.
What that says about what's happening? It is a huge reservation. It is something like 2.2 million acres.
Oh boy.
And there are only 6 officers who patrol that 2.2 million acres.
Oh, good Lord. Yes. Well, that's a recipe right there.
It is. And so what happens is when there's a missing person or there's a murder on the Wind River Reservation, law enforcement has to call in the FBI because they do not in any way have the resources to investigate such things.
Well, no, they couldn't.
Unfortunately, then they wait for the FBI to respond, and they wait for the FBI to show up. And we know historically that the FBI is not the most reliable when it comes to these cases on reservations.
Right.
Now, that is what's reported, and we've seen it reported over and over and over again. And, this is not an official accusation. It's just what we've seen reported in these cases over and over again. Yeah. So, with that said, Jade Wagon Jade Wagon's sister, Jocelyn Watt, was shot and killed in January of 2019. This was a double homicide. This was in Riverton, Wyoming. And Jocelyn and her 30-year-old fiance, Rudy Perez, were found murdered with gunshot wounds in their home. That's literally all I can find about that case, other than it has still not been solved. And there are all these call outs to people in the community to speak up and no more being silent and come forward and talk about it and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
You know, which is great, sure. However, it appears to be a replacement for actual investigation. So Jade, heartbroken over the loss of her sister, got involved in the MMIW movement. And she marched on the Capitol with other women that were involved with her mom, and has fought to try to keep her sister's voice alive, her name, anything out there. There are no posters. There are no, when the police can put up posters about different crimes, like, hey, help, sort of a Crime Stoppers kind of thing. If you know anything, help us. There are no posters for Jocelyn and her boyfriend.
Nothing.
It's just like, well, who cares? Really, it's the same thing that we've seen over and over in these cases.
Right.
So that's where Jade was at. And so the next year, her mom reported her missing on January 2nd of 2020. And she was very concerned for her and reported her missing.
Yeah.
And again, there's so little information out there. There was some search for her. Of course, this is, on the Wind River Reservation. And so the FBI was called in. It took too long for them to come. They searched for her, eventually found her body 19 days after she went missing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And with very little time in between her being found and making their announcement, the FBI determined that Jade Wagon died of exposure, hypothermia.
My God, how many times have we heard this one?
So many that it absolutely makes me enraged when I hear it.
Thinking about some of the girls in Montana, Henny, and I can't think of the other. Anyway, we've heard this lots of times. It's disgusting.
So many times. Now, she was in her 20s, a functional adult.
Yeah.
No way in hell did she just wander out into the snow and fall down and die, like so many Native women. And when they do that, then immediately it's not considered foul play anymore. Nobody's investigating, nobody's looking into anything. And I don't know if there's evidence that it was foul play or not, but I don't think the FBI does either.
Right. That was just easy.
Yeah, it's just easy. Also, apparently Native women just wander out in the snow and die all the fucking time.
Yeah, apparently that's just a thing, I guess.
I guess. So here we have Jade and Jocelyn's poor mother, who's lost two children within a year's time.
Oh.
With no answer on either.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, living on the Wind River Reservation, this is not uncommon. Particularly when the life expectancy is 49 years old on this reservation.
That is terrifying.
It is terrifying. Of course, they said that there were drugs in Jade's body, which I don't care if there were or not.
No.
You didn't do any work to find out how she died. Also, I haven't seen any
why there were drugs in Jade's body.
Right, yeah. How they got there. And how long had she been out there? How long had she been dead in the snow? Because this is Montana, northern Montana, or Wyoming, northern Wyoming, in the winter, in January. Yeah, it's cold as hell.
It's cold.
Yeah,
really cold.
There's snow.
Yeah.
It's a bad time to be outside. But why was she outside? And how did she get outside? And who may have been with her before that? And what drugs were in her body? And how were they administered? I mean, it seems as though these are questions that the FBI could answer.
Yeah.
whoever they
What did her digital footprint look like? Who had she been talking to? Who was she messaging and texting and emailing? And so on and so forth. All
all
of
of the
those
things,
answers that we could have had.
right. All of the answers that we could have had. We know. We've seen plenty of cases investigated lately, and we always use Gabby Petito as an example, but it's true.
I just don't think she minds.
No, I don't think she does either. I would imagine that Gabby is pretty happy that at least her death can bring help to other women.
More advocacy.
But we know what's possible.
Right.
We know what's possible.
We know, yeah, exactly. We know what's possible when we care enough, when we put enough resources into it, and have a spotlight on us from the nation watching this play out, what can be done.
We know what's possible. We saw what they did to find Gabby. We saw what they've used as far as like her digital footprint, his digital footprint, actual complete autopsies, which if there has been one of Jade Wagon, it has never been published. Yeah. There were lots and lots of assumptions made.
Of course.
Also, she was pushing really hard about her sister's death. Were these two cases related? Did something happen? Did she find out something she shouldn't know? I don't know the answers to these questions, but you know who could know the answers to these questions?
The FBI.
Freaking FBI. That's who.
Funny what happens when the whole nation is watching a case, how we can perform.
Right. Yeah. But when cases like this get no press, so there's no pressure placed on law enforcement around them. It's horrifying and sickening. And yet again, we're still in the same place that we were a year ago when we started covering these cases.
Yep.
Is that things are not getting better.
No.
There is still very little done to solve cases of Indigenous people who have been killed.
Yeah.
This idea that Native women are just wandering out into the snow and laying down and dying is the biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever heard in my life. Just no. It's just a no.
Absolutely. Well, and one thing we know is that reservations that have a lot of oil drilling going on around them have had a lot of crime come to their communities.
Yes.
We know that that's brought a lot of white crime to their communities.
Yes, it has.
From people who are just working there briefly, passing through. And we've learned that there are certainly men who know that the jurisdictional issues mean that if you come on the reservation and kill somebody, it's very likely that you'll get away with it, or sexually assault somebody. And if me saying that makes you uncomfortable, it should. Because this is happening here in the United States of America.
Right.
And we know that the Wind River Reservation has major oil going on around it and have had big battles with the oil fields.
Yes.
Over all kinds of issues, mostly pollution and things like that.
Polluting their water and
But that part of Wyoming, a lot of people have been there over the last 5-10 years for oil purposes, and they bring so much trouble with them.
They do, because they come in rather anonymously.
Mm-hmm.
And they come and go. They don't have, they might only stay a short time, and so their identities aren't, recognized in these communities. And and it's not to say that there isn't crime committed by Indigenous people. Of course there is.
Of course.
But why the increase?
Yeah.
In Wyoming, Native people make up 3% of the population, and they make up 21% of the murders committed in Wyoming.
That is staggering.
Life expectancy on the Wind River Reservation is 49 years old. That is just beyond sickening. I can't.
No.
I just can't with this. But there are 6 officers for 2.2 million acres. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah. How can that possibly be the case?
Well, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And we have to change it because, yeah, of course they have to rely on the FBI. What else are they going to do? I mean, they can't possibly protect their own people, not even close. They cannot possibly investigate all of the crimes that happen on that reservation. No way in hell can they.
Yep.
And can they be working off the reservation trying to catch people that are coming in? Hell no.
No.
Yeah.
No, they cannot. It's a nightmare. Well, and apparently the reservation has an oil field on the res, which not all reservations allow it, but there has been an oil field on the reservation.
Okay, I
Been
did not know that.
extremely contentious.
Mm-hmm.
And just recently, like a few months ago, actually, some of the tribes there, the Eastern Shoshone and the Northern Arapaho tribes, have taken full ownership of the oil and gas field.
Oh, wow. Good
Which
for
I
them.
hope for their sake that means they can chase people out of there that shouldn't be there. But
I
that may
hope
not be
so.
the case. I don't know. But
What it would take is private security because they don't have any freaking police, that's for sure.
No, they sure don't. But it does make me curious about that because as soon as we started talking about this case, I was running over to Google because I wanted to see exactly where they are in relation to all of the oil that's going on, and they're right in the thick of it.
Yeah, they are. They are. Well, there's way more that should be known about this situation with with the double homicide with Jocelyn Watt and with the death of Jade Wagon.
Well, right, because her boyfriend died too. I mean, this is actually a triple. Not at the same time, but these are 3 murders. Yeah.
3, yeah. Because there's nothing to, they found her body out in the snow. Oh, so she, got too high and laid down and died. Yeah, okay, sure. Was that, sure. Whatever. No.
If that was commonplace, people would be dead all over the place. And that's not the case.
It is not. It is not commonplace. And when you live in a place like Wind River, Wyoming, you know how dangerous the cold can be. We live in the same kind of place. You know how dangerous the cold can be. You know how to protect yourself. You have the clothing for it. You know when not to be outside. I don't care if you're using drugs or not.
Yeah.
You know.
No. The fact is, nothing was investigated.
No.
And the fact that she had a sister that was murdered a year before her, the fact that that didn't alone trigger an investigation, a really comprehensive investigation, is really, really frustrating.
Well, it is because I mean, anytime there's been a murder of a family member and then another family member goes missing and turns up dead, you have to consider that there might be something going on there, Even if there isn't, that's got to be something that has to be ruled out. But there's no real investigation going on in these situations. There isn't.
Clearly not.
No. It's a total farce that's being perpetrated by our federal law enforcement. They're not doing anything for these cases.
No.
And it took them 19 days to find her.
Yeah.
How long was she dead? Yeah. We don't know. I bet they do, but we don't. There's so much that we don't know that's never been released.
We also, do we know she died where they found her? No.
Right. Don't know
we
that.
Don't.
We know they said.
How did she get there? No, we don't know.
We don't know any of those things. I don't care if she did die of a drug overdose. We should know all the details of how that happened and why and who was she with. How do you find somebody dead out in the snow and determine immediately, oh, well, they just died of hypothermia?
Yeah.
Really? Because if that was a white person, no way in hell would they just jump to that immediately.
No. Also convenient that they threw out there, well, there were drugs in her system.
So. Oh, yeah, it's always that.
That's always the answer.
Yeah.
Always.
I don't care if there's drugs in her system or not. That doesn't mean that's what killed her.
What drugs? Advil?
Right.
What drugs?
Yeah, it's just drugs, that word.
What drugs? Yeah.
Yeah. Drugs that were meant to, render her incapacitated. What? But no, they don't know. And their poor mother has not got any answers at this point.
Well, and is in such a helpless position.
Yeah.
Because what is she supposed to do? There is
she's
no...
gonna fight the FBI? I don't think so.
No. There's no way to fight that. Nothing.
No.
No.
Well, we will continue to do our part, and we will continue to share these cases and talk about them and encourage you that if you live in this area, if you live in Wyoming, did you know these things about Wind River?
Yeah.
And have you looked at when you vote in your state, what are they, what are the plans here to solve these issues? What are they doing to make this better? Because the problems are known.
Yeah.
But what are the solutions?
Yeah.
Actual, not just, I know there have been like, oh, let's get together and have roundtable talks and bullshit. No, we need money and resources and a clear plan being enacted on the ground by the people who live there now.
Yep.
Yeah. So these are all questions, if you live in that state, that you can bring up.
Be asking your last week. I think it was last week after a story. We did a story about Yakima. And one of you emailed us and said, I live near Yakima. I had no idea that there was such a terrible MMIW problem at Yakima. What do I do? And our suggestions were contact your news, because they don't report on MMIW cases because they don't. They're not interesting. And that's a horrible thing to say, but it's true. And the news reports stories that they think you want to hear, and they clearly aren't getting any play on MMIW
They're going to get a lot of watches.
Yeah, so they're not reporting on them. So contact your news and tell them that you want to know.
Yeah.
Whenever there's an MMIW case happening in your community, you want to know. You want that to be reported on. You're interested. And then you reach out to your representatives, your senators, your state representatives, and you ask them what they are doing to support the local tribes and what they are doing to help with the MMIW crisis. Yeah. Those are some things you can do.
They all know it exists. This has been identified for quite a while.
They do.
Well, and then go seek out MMIW organizations in your state, because most areas have them now, and join the national one as well. And keep an eye out for cases that are local to you and send them to the news.
Yes.
And ask them, why are they not reporting on this story?
Yep.
Because one of the problems, make noise. And because one of the problems that we have is that if you don't find out till 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 years later, it's very hard to get any interest, But if the MMIW national Facebook page is really useful, because they have a lot of stuff on there. They post many times a day. And sometimes it's like situations where people are found, and they post if they've been found, and they update their stuff pretty regularly. But it's a great way to see, because it's all of the potentially native people on the whole, in the whole US that they cover. And so you may see cases that you're like, holy shit, that's like 30 miles from me. I had no idea. Yeah. Send it to your news and say, hey, I haven't seen anything about this from you guys. What are you doing?
Yeah. Yep. Be the squeaky wheel, guys. That is what you can do.
Definitely. So there are definitely more things you can do. We will continue to report on these cases.
Well, talk about it and share it. Be the weirdo at the party that talks about true crime. You do. And talk about MMIW. You'll be amazed what people don't know.
Oh, I talk about our MMIW cases all the time with people when people are like, so what do you do for a living? And I'll tell them, and I'll be like, our big focus this year has been, and did you know? And just tell people, because it's not being shared. And so most people do not know about these problems. And that's a real easy way for government entities to not have to do anything about it.
And it's an easy way for these problems to persist.
It is. Yeah. It is. And so we all have to stand up and use our voices and, just keep trying. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, you guys, this is our Wednesday case. We will be back tonight at 7 p.m. Mountain with our case update live stream. We'll be live streaming on YouTube and on Facebook, and it will also then go up on our podcast afterward. On Thursday, we will be back at 7 p.m. Mountain for the Psychic Hour. And that will also be live streaming and go up on our podcast as well. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. All of those things help us to grow. And we are growing so much. We've grown so much this year. It is just stunning. But we couldn't do that without all of you. So we really appreciate your presence and your willingness to support these causes, and to learn about what's happening and be a part of the solution.
For sure.
Yeah. All righty. Well, we are True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. Thanks for being here.
Take care.